Edward Hansen, I was saddened to hear that we're gonna cut back on road, salt roads and things like that. Those are the reasons the town exists, are for infrastructure, care and things like that. That should be the prime reason, those should be prime things, if they're not touching it. Somebody get in an accident or something, you can't treat the roads right.
Nobody says that we're not gonna treat the roads, we're just gonna treat them differently.
You're gonna skimp on things. No. But my point is, see, that's what happens when you get involved with social programs.
Like the
town should be-
canteen?
Yeah, the police force,
Just us.
parks, things like that. I mean, they're all good and everything, the heads are good, they run the program, they run their things right. But that's what happens when you get involved with social programs. Now we don't have the money for the necessities. And that's what it's turning out to.
Fund. It's a different fund. Highway is a DB fund and we are part town or whole town,
No,
recreation
I'm saying,
and police.
I'm saying our taxes go towards parks and everything, and towards the police department, correct?
True.
I mean, of course. And I mean, those are, okay, let's have everything, everybody that's blind, let's have a program for that. Everybody that needs a wheelchair, let's go help them out. It would be just endless. That's what happens when you start this. When the police force first started, you probably had one guy about 30, 40 years ago. Now one car, I don't even know what a police car costs, the way it's outfitted. The costs are outrageous. And
We also have a lot more crime than we ever had too.
And a lot more regulations also.
right, and they can't be handled by the county? Has there been talk about folding the department in the county?
Don't ever think that the county's the silver bullet. As I've said before, I don't have any problem whatsoever with consolidation with anything or anybody.
We may have to.
But there's one thing that I'd like to make perfectly clear. I don't believe just because one town does something that it's right for us. I'd like to sit back and I want to see what happens. I'm talking to the chief about this. Him and I have had some lengthy, colorful conversations about this. I don't have a problem with consolidating anything, but it has to make sense. There's a lot of things people can try to consolidate that I don't know why they even talk about it. They have to make sense.
Years ago, we didn't have a police force.
Well, years ago, we had about 10,000 people in town, too. Things change.
And that's what I get, that's my point though. We got social stuff now that we've been involved with and we can't afford the necessities. That's what I don't like. I'm hearing that we're gonna be cut back on roads and things like that, and it's not good. And I mean, not everybody, all governments do it.
Actually, I think his budget was overfunded for several years,
Which was it
the
that?
highway budget. He always rolled some money into other, he modded it out or built up he's got enough pipe to go all the way to Alaska. He's got stores of stuff back there. We could drill our own, oil well in Alaska with the pipe that he's got. What I'm saying is, I think he was overfunded for several years, and we brought him down to a level that is reasonable, and we've asked him to be more conservative in how he does things, based on the fact that the economy's starting to drag. Now, and I think he's not, I think the message of bleak road service is not gonna be as drastic as it sounds.
No.
Because he called me up and my ears are still going like this from him screaming at me because nobody else would answer their phone. And, excuse me, that one. Is that the McCain thing?
Michelle,
Anyway.
Every time we talked to him, we brought 2 boxes of candy.
I know, that's right. But, I mean, he blew a gasket about it, and then we talked a little while, and then he listened to some of the things that I said to him, and he semi-agreed that there was some conservation that he could accomplish. So I think that, with the right mindset, he will be able to still accomplish some things, maybe not to the level of 2 years ago, but certainly not to the level of putting anybody in danger, because that was his number one concern.
Right, just the fact that you're bringing it up, you're considering it. It's bad.
And that, in regard to your comments about the programs that we have in the town, I I don't know, quote me, or correct me if I'm wrong, Jody, but I believe just about all of them are self-sufficient or paid through the user fees, through the town. So, is that correct, Jody, or?
Recreation programs, that is correct, and I just wanted to correct one other statement. Social programs, the canteen costs this town $13,000 out of a $160,000 budget. The balance of that
$13,000?
program is paid for through grants and other dollars. It's only costing the town $13,000.
That's
And social
$13,000.
service programs, it's called quality of life for this community. And unfortunately, when budget crunch comes, we look at the programs that are not mandated, and I realize that the Parks and Rec and senior citizens and teenagers and young people and parks are not mandated by the state of New York. But the quality of your life in this town is based on your church, your school, your family, and what your family can do. Your roads are gonna get plowed and it's gonna cost something. Receiver of taxes, town boards, zoning and codes, they're all important, and I don't put any of my other fellow colleagues down. But without parks and recreation, I don't know if you'd have as many people moving to the community over the years for services.
That wouldn't be a bad
Because they don't
thing
move
either.
here for your roads plowed, and they don't move here because of your codes. They move here for a quality of life with their families.
And Ed, when that point was brought up, and specifically was brought up by Mr. Baloo, who called me up about it, and then I talked with Steve Morgan about it, and Steve echoed that statement that most of her programs are self-sufficient, and there is hardly anything to be cut from her department, because it's very slim. And 2 years or 3 years ago,
Well, how big is the parks budget? We usually know, how big is your budget? That's how much we're paying.
but the programs are
So you're saying we're reimbursed
self-sufficient.
and there's no tax? You're saying we're all reimbursed and
We-
there's
The
no tax?
biggest
Grants,
part of my
there's
budget
a lot of
is
grants.
parks, park maintenance, which
Right.
all of the parks were accepted in this town years ago, and you can't get rid of them. They're public lands now. And that budget alone, I believe, is 250. I'd have to look myself. But recreation programs are self-sufficient. The teen center costs about 13. The senior center and its programming costs about 100,000 for this town.
Which is fine if you can afford it, but we can't
That's
afford
correct,
it.
correct.
And where do you draw the line? I'd like to see something
agree.
to help the blind, okay? Or I'd like to see something for people that are crippled, or people with Alzheimer's disease. I'd like to see all those people.
Well, we do have those services in the town through private agencies.
I mean, you just can't afford it. That's my point. And yet when I hear you're gonna cut back on roads, it really galls me, because that's the whole intention of having a town is to take care of engineering problems and things like that, not social problems.
I think that a lot of your concerns are really addressed too at the federal level. I understand in
every
some
level of
respect
government
what
is
you're
wasted.
saying,
I'll give you that.
but, you know,
That's what really galls me when I hear that. That, parks are gonna be sitting there, and nobody's gonna be using them, and yet, it costs money, and here we're gonna be driving, maybe not have the roads cleared, as much and stuff.
They'll be
We can't afford the overtime or something like that.
They'll be cleared up.
Good, I hope so.
thank you.
Very good. Is anyone else?